Chapter 6 of the Travelling and Trade of the Utopians. If any man has a mind to visit his friends that live in some other town, or desires to travel and see the rest of the country, he obtains leave very easily from the Siphogrant and the Tranibors, when there is no particular occasion for him at home. Such as travel carry with them a passport from the prince, which both certifies the licence that is granted for travelling, and limits the time of their return. They are furnished with a wagon and a slave, who drives the oxen and looks after them, but, unless there are women in the company, the wagon is sent back at the end of the journey, as a needless encumbrance. While they are on the road, they carry no provisions with them, yet they want for nothing, but are everywhere treated as if they were at home. If they stay in any place longer than a night, everyone follows his proper occupation, and is very well used by those of his own trade. But if any man goes out of the city to which he belongs without leave, and is found rambling without a passport, he is severely treated. He is punished as a fugitive, and sent home disgracefully. And, if he falls again into the like fault, he is condemned to slavery. If any man has a mind to travel only over the precinct of his own city, he may freely do it, with his father's permission and his wife's consent. But when he comes into any of the country houses, if he expects to be entertained by them, he must labour with them, and conform to their rules. And if he does this, he may freely go over the whole precinct, being then as useful to the city to which he belongs as if he were still within it. Thus you see that there are no idle persons among them, no pretences of excuse from any labour. There are no taverns, no alehouses, nor stews among them, nor any other occasion of corrupting each other, of getting into corners or forming themselves into parties. All men live in full view, so that all are obliged both to perform their ordinary task and to employ themselves well in their spare hours. And it is certain that a people thus ordered must live in great abundance of all things, and these being equally distributed among them, no man can want or be obliged to beg. In their great council at Amaro, to which there are 3 sent from every town once a year, they examine what towns abound in provisions, and what are under any scarcity, that so the one may be furnished from the other. And this is done freely, without any sort of exchange, for, according to their plenty or scarcity, they supply or are supplied from one another, so that indeed the whole island is, as it were, one family. When they have thus taken care of their whole country, and laid up stores for 2 years, which they do to prevent the ill consequences of an unfavourable season, they order an exportation of the overplus, both of corn, honey, wool, flax, wood, wax, tallow, leather, and cattle, which they send out commonly in great quantities to the other nations. They order a 7th part of all those goods to be freely given to the poor of the countries to which they send them, and the rest they sell at moderate rates, and by this exchange they not only bring back those few things which they are in need of at home, for indeed they scarce need anything but iron, but likewise a great deal of gold and silver, and by their driving this trade so long, it is not to be imagined how vast a treasure they have among them, so that now they do not much care whether they sell their merchandise for money on hand or upon trust. A great part of their treasure is now in bonds, but in all their contracts no private man stands bound, but the writing runs in the name of the town, and the towns that owe them money raise it from those private hands that owe it to them, lay it up in their public chamber, or enjoy the profit of it till the Utopians call for it. And they choose rather to let the greater part of it lie in their hand, who make advantage by it, than to call for it themselves. But if they see that any of their neighbours stands more in need of it, then they call it in and lend it to them. Whenever they engage in war, which is the only occasion in which their treasures can be usefully employed, they make use of it themselves. In great extremities or sudden accidents, they employ it in the hiring of foreign troops, whom they are more willing to expose to danger than their own people. They give them great pay, knowing well that this will work even on their enemies, that it will engage them either to betray their own side, or at least to desert it, and that is the best means of raising mutual jealousies among them.